are you guys fighting? It seems so ridiculous. Why don't you guys just have sex?
All right. All right. For Judging Judy. All right.
Hello and welcome to the Judging Judy podcast, the only comedy podcast that turns the tables on America's least favorite TV judge. Today's episode comes to us from September 28th, 2020, and it's about two neighbors coming to blows over a drug test or some unwanted sexual advances, depending on who you believe. But before we jump into things, I just have some advice. Don't cry over spilled milk. It'll only make you thirstier. To help remind us what was going on in the world back when this episode first aired, I've called in my friend Professor Wikipedia, Doctorate of Cookie Crisp. The Avila Liberty, also known as the Next Gen Acela, completed its first test run to Boston South Station. Unfortunately, it would take another 5 years for the trains to enter regular service. While some were upset the expensive high-speed trains missed their originally scheduled launch date by 3 years, just imagine how late they would have been if they were low-speed trains. Russia announced that they have supplied the first batch of their COVID-19 vaccine, Sputnik V, to Belarus for clinical trials. The vaccine worked in an unconventional way. The virus would be made to accidentally fall out of the window of a very tall building. European scientists announced the observations of WSAP 189b, an ultra-hot Jupiter exoplanet that orbits the star HD 133112, 322 light-years away from the Libra constellation. Ultra-hot Jupiter exoplanets are much like the largest planet in our own solar system, only they've gotten Brazilian butt lifts. Thanks for the help, Professor Wikipedia. Next, let's check in on the New York Times crossword for that day back in 2020. The clue for 45 down is small, lobster-like crustacean, and the answer is crawdad. Finally, we'll take a look at the US box office for 9/28/2020. Number 3 was Unhinged. Number 2 was The New Mutants. And number 1 was Tenet. Unhinged, most notable for being the first new movie in wide release in over 5 months when it first came out in that fun-filled COVID August, starred Russell Crowe as a very angry, very vengeful road rager. Critical reception of the movie was mixed, with one reviewer wondering where director Derek Bort learned to drive, his grandma. Another commented that co-star Karen Pistorius needed to keep her eyes on the road, and that anyone who sees the movie has their so far up their that it's surprising they don't and they with their. That's it, let's get to the teaser for today's episode.
Raul's saying Carrie's on drugs and Carrie's saying Raul's on drugs. They're going back and forth with each other. And I go, here, I have a drug test.
A drug test, finally a white elephant gift that pays off.
Did her suggestion hit a nerve?
Or was it one of those little hammers sadistic doctors knock you with on the knee?
How did her nose get broken, Miss Reyes?
Why do they always ask the people with blood on their hands what happened to other people's noses? All right, time for the case. Kimberly is suing her ex-friend of 15 years, Carrie, for the decidedly unfriendly act of breaking her nose. We learn right off the bat that it was not just Kimberly and Carrie that were friends. Both women's husbands were friends as well. It remains to be seen whether either of their noses were broken and if they too have entered the ex-friend stage.
And we'll be friends forever.
The incident at hand, or at clenched fist, happened at the plaintiff's house.
It was Carrie, myself, my 2 daughters, my husband, Mark, and later that evening, Raul, her boyfriend, husband, showed up.
We get a glimpse of Raul, and he looks like the kind of person who you would be wise to never point out to that they clearly have 19 items in the 10 items or less checkout line, lest he take one of those ding-dongs he's buying and jam it down your throat.
Well, maybe I had it coming.
We also see one of Kimberly's daughters, who is in court as her witness. The as-of-yet unnamed daughter is probably in her early 20s, denim jacket and very, very intentionally tattered jeans. Holes in both knees, one chin, one upper thigh. There is more hole than there is fabric, and the only thing from 2020 with more holes in it is the logic behind using ivermectin. The evening of the nose breaking, Kimberly says things started more amicably. They were enjoying a few glasses of wine next to the pool. When asked, Kimberly says that all the adults in attendance had been drinking, which elicits some vigorous head shaking and a raised hand from Carrie.
I see you. Put your hand down.
Don't take it too hard, Carrie. The judge says the same thing to me when I go up for a high five. Kimberly's looking for compensation for both her medical bills and the pain and suffering she had from the altercation. You know, no one just asks for the pain or the suffering. kind of makes me think it's a scam. All these years, I know for a fact that at least one person has been okay with the pain. They maybe even liked the pain, but it was the suffering they couldn't endure. But they get greedy. They think, well, if I say I didn't like the pain, maybe I can double my money. Worse yet, if I say I do like the pain, they'll think I don't deserve anything for the suffering. They'll think I was just faking the suffering. So in order to make sure they know I was really suffering, that my suffering was real, I've got to fake the pain part. Like I said, it's a scam, but it's also a shame. It's a shame where we are as a society.
I can't believe you figured it out.
In her paperwork for the case, Carrie doesn't deny that her fist hit Kimberly's face.
You indicated that it was a result of her aggression and you were acting in self-defense.
If I saw a sentient, autonomous nose attacking me, coming at me with its nostrils flaring, I might punch it too. Back to the night of the punching, Carrie says she got to Kimberly's house in the late afternoon and her husband got there about 90 minutes later. She adds that prior to the punching, the evening had been going fine.
Approximately what time in the evening did this assault take place?
7:30, 7:45. It was just before the sunset.
Oh, what a shame. If you all would have waited until just a little after sunset, it would have been the blue hour, named for the color of the bruises you give someone if you punch them right after sunset. The photos taken then are just gorgeous.
Carrie and I, we were having a few drinks, and we were discussing throughout the day how she believes her boyfriend is cheating on her and she thinks he's doing drugs.
Kimberly says that this wasn't the first time the topics came up, that Carrie would come over quite often with these allegations, but no proof. Kimberly pressed her friend for proof, but to no avail. But maybe that's how Carrie's fist wound up in Kimberly's nose. She was just looking for proof in their fingerprints or video. Or another woman's child. I don't know. You can fit a lot of stuff in a nose.
Let me get 2-foot-long chili dogs.
Carrie's accusations, Kimberly says, included that needles were missing from her house. The absence of needles is only slightly less worrisome, of course, than the presence of needles. Needles can't not be there until they are there, and it's the there that's a little more alarming.
What do you mean that there were needles? Stop.
Sure.
What do you mean when you said there were needles missing?
She told me that he was using steroids or something to boost his, whatever you use steroids for.
Most men use steroids to become kinder, gentler, more understanding, and more patient, and because they're sick of having testicles.
Why?
Your manliness, I guess. I don't know.
Ooh, I'm not sure I'm comfortable with you calling me that, Judy, but thanks?
Your manliness.
The missing needles question isn't adequately clarified at all before Judy returns us back to poolside punch miss. With Raul having arrived and Kimberly's husband already in the garage, the party moved there, though that must have made swimming remarkably difficult.
And my husband offered him a beer, so him and Raul were in the garage having a few beers.
And playing the most interesting game of Marco Polo ever witnessed. At some point, though, Kimberly's husband left, leaving just Kimberly, Carrie, and Raul there in the garage.
A car hole.
Kimberly says that at this point, talk of Raul being on drugs came up. Carrie is shaking her head vigorously, but even more importantly, the chyron below Carrie says, quote, says plaintiff upset her, which indicates to me that the person writing the chyrons was engaging in that favorite pastime of 2020, quiet quitting. Judy asks who brought up Raul's supposed drug use into the conversation.
I think it might have been me. It was so long ago that Carrie and I were talking about this.
It wasn't even a year ago. It was 10 months ago. How many times have you had your nose broken?
Christ, Judy. There are 3 things you're never supposed to ask a woman: her age, her weight, and how many times she's had her nose broken.
I'm doing the best I can. Wait a minute, you're being sarcastic.
Kimberly answers that her nose has only been broken once, to which I would add, thus far, and then she concedes she doesn't remember the exact details of what happened before that part of the conversation nearly as well as she remembers what happened after.
And Raul clearly stated, I'm not on drugs. And then I said, you know what, guys? I got up, I walked in my house, I came back out, I had a drug test. I have a 14-panel drug test that I purchased because my husband has employees, and we just use it to kind of, keep them straight and scare them a little bit.
Oh, okay, so you're a terrible employer, got it. That of course doesn't mean you're a terrible person or should get your nose broken, but I could be swayed.
And Raul's saying Carrie's on drugs, and Carrie's saying Raul's on drugs. They're going back and forth with each other. And I'm like, well, here's a solution. Carrie, here's a drug test.
Let's just assume this part of the conversation happened. No one was looking for your solution, Kimberly. If one of them, or if both of them were using, getting that knowledge via your drug test, that wouldn't have made things better. That wasn't what their relationship needed. Not after a couple of beers, a couple of glasses of wine, and some time spent outside in the sun next to the pool. And if the test had come back negative, then we would have gone to the cheating thing. And I'm sure you have a test for that you used to scare your husband's employees too. You were sniffing around in their problems and you got punched for it. Did you deserve it? I don't know. Is there a test you can take to decide that?
With her paranoia and all that, kind of had the inclination that she might be doing something. So I suggested she take the drug test.
What did you seek to accomplish? Shame? Schadenfreude? At this point, Kimberly says she asked Carrie, not Raul, to take the test, given her nosy suspicions about Carrie, but not Raul.
This is not logical.
And he was offering to take it. I'll take the drug test. I'll take it. And I'm like, no, Raul, I want Carrie to.
So he said, I'll take the drug test.
Yes.
There have to be easier ways to get a hold of your friend's urine, Kimberly. Jeez, and I'm not kink shaming, not at all, but I mean, I'm getting a little worried. With your paranoia and all, I'm beginning to wonder if you were on drugs. Kimberly says Carrie neither agreed nor refused to take the test, and that after a few minutes of badgering, she got bored of asking for her friend's pee and gave up.
So I walked in my home, and Carrie comes in following me. And all I remember, she got me from behind. She totally caught me off guard and started wailing on me, just started punching me, didn't say anything. I'm screaming at her to get out of my house at this point.
Carrie's at it, raising her hand to speak again, but Judy waves her off, apparently not fearful that she too may become a victim of Carrie's insatiable wrath.
We must kill everything that we see.
And at some point, she picked up my candle holder, which was on my coffee table in the front living room, and broke it over my head.
What was your candle holder made out of? Tissue paper? Silly string? Did you have a one-of-a-kind spiderweb candelabra? Kimberly insists that throughout this Clue-esque assault, she screamed for Carrie to get out of her house. I think I would have yelled, "Oh no, you broke my eggshell candle holder."
It's priceless.
Kimberly says that her eldest daughter, the one sitting here who has pants made out of the same chintzy cheesecloth as the candle holder, watched the whole thing, her mother left battered and bloodied. But at last, the slaughter came to a close.
My oldest daughter came up and grabbed her hand and told her, "Carrie, you need to leave."
I hope the kid checked the surroundings and made sure there were no more gauze candle holders around that Carrie could have slung in her direction. Kimberly says she called the cops that night and went to the ER the following morning.
Hi, Dr. Nick.
We get a look at a completely illegible carbon copy of the police report. The Da Vinci Code was clear. The Dead Sea Scrolls were clear. The lyrics to Butterfly by Crazy Town were clear. Thank heavens, Judy shakes off the fact that whoever wrote this police report was afraid of holding their pen too tight, lest it suffocate, and moves on to ask for the medical report instead.
Hi, everybody.
It says that we've got some contusions on Kimberly's left wrist and right elbow, plus a broken bone in her nose. Her blood pressure is a little high, and she's got a penicillin allergy too. And just for me reading that, that'll be $3,000 because unfortunately the Judging Judy podcast is out of network. At this point, Judy asks for Carrie's version of events starting in the garage.
And the conversation came up, like she said, about drugs. It then evolved into, well, why are you guys fighting? It seems so ridiculous. Why don't you guys just have sex?
Hey, baby.
Wait. Had they not tried that yet? Did they jump right past to the fighting about drugs part of the relationship and forget about the sex?
Oh, yeah.
Given Kimberly's meddling thus far, I wouldn't be surprised if what she had meant was, why don't you two have sex right now in front of me and next to this Kubota ride-on lawnmower? Carrie says she tried to explain that she didn't want to have sex with Raul in her neighbor's garage where they store all their old rusted bikes.
And she, in turn, turned around and said, well, if you're not going to, I'll have sex with him.
Carrie says that this upset her, despite Kimberly claiming she was just kidding, and explaining that if she were to have sex with Raul in her garage, she'd have to move a couple of boxes away first. No, I mean, she didn't say that. I kid. The boxes could stay.
Kim has a history of alcoholism. She's...
Don't tell me history.
Wait. Why was Kimberly able to say that Carrie had a history of going to her house and complaining about things and that she was paranoid? Can we get that stricken from the record too?
What's fair is fair.
Just drink your orange juice, will you?
Carrie takes her unjust recriminations and continues with her story, saying that at this point she went in the house while Raul and Kimberly were still outside. Carrie says she approached Kimberly's husband to relay what had happened in their two-car sex den.
And then from that point, he stood up and he said, I'm going to go see what's going on. I said, let it be, let them come in.
This might take a while, kid.
Once Raul came in, she says Kimberly's husband asked Raul if what Carrie said was true, which Raul confirmed. This, Carrie says, angered Kimberly, who then demanded that Carrie leave the house, which is basically the only thing the two stories have in common. We definitely know that at some point before or after an alleged sexual rendezvous that may or may not have been jokingly or seriously proposed, Kimberly wanted Carrie to leave.
So I said, okay, I'll leave. So I went to proceed to go outside, and she pushed me. And when she pushed me, I slipped on the tile that she has in her house. And when I went to stand up, she pulled me by my hair.
Kimberly's trying to interrupt here, and I'm gonna take a chance. Take a really big guess. Big risk, big reward. You gotta spend money to make money. Lady Luck be by my side. I'm gonna say that Kimberly is going to concede that she did grab Carrie's hair, but that it was like Scar grabbing Mustafa by the paws on the cliffside above the raging hyenas. And that whole thing turned out great, right?
You were inside or outside when I pushed you? Sorry.
When will I learn? Never put it all online, King.
I have pictures, which I also sent to the detective that was assigned to the case.
I'm gonna bet that it's pictures of a talking toucan and a young lion. Oh, no. No more betting. But it's just with online gambling, it's just so easy. Not counting losing, you can't lose. Try Draft Dunks with my exclusive code ADDICTION and you're guaranteed to develop a crippling habit. Though the police didn't go to Carrie's house, she got a letter in the mail from them about 2 weeks after the incident at her neighbor's house.
Between November 25th, when this incident happened, and the time you received the letter, had you seen a doctor?
No, I had not.
Had you seen a doctor?
No,
Had
Your
you
Honor.
been to an emergency room?
No, Your Honor.
All of which is to say that any injuries she suffered are less substantiated than Kimberly's. Similarly, unlike Kimberly, she didn't make a police report of her own.
It was a little weird. Maybe she forgot.
After that strange little detour, we return back to the night and the moment after Kimberly allegedly pushed Carrie.
And then she grabbed me by my hair. I have photocopies of my hair being ripped out.
You have photocopies of your hair being ripped out? Is that some new Fujifilm feature that came out that I've never heard of? You like put your head on the glass, close the top of the printer, scan it, and shows which of your hairs have been ripped out?
The whole world is waiting, for this will decide the fate of civilization, all humanity.
Ah, okay. She meant to say photograph, not photocopy. That makes a lot more sense. I was a little worried. Carrie tells Judy that the pictures of her newly shorn scalp were taken the day of the incident and later sent to the detective. She brought some along and Judy's eager to see them because, of course, nothing brings her more joy than pictures of ladies' heads.
Is that the only photograph that you have?
It is, Your Honor.
Well, there's this one and the one of Albert Einstein sticking his tongue out, but I'm not sure if that's relevant. Judy's saying this because the quality is not great. It's black and white, it's from the brow up, so there's no way of knowing it's Carrie. It looks like it could be a very deep part brushed to the right, or perhaps like someone ripped out a chunk of hair. It doesn't disprove anything that Carrie said, but it's not very convincing either.
Now, she pushed you down. When she pushed you down, did you end up on your face or on your back?
I was on my knees, so when I fell, I was able to I fell to my knees. And
she pushed you when you fell to your knees, and she was behind you.
She was in front of me, and she pushed me forward.
I thought you were leaving.
Now, just because I don't like Kimberly, I'm willing to contort myself in any number of ways, even if it means getting pushed from the front while trying to leave and somehow winding up on my knees. But even then, this isn't really making any sense.
And you mean she ran around you and pushed you the other way?
Yeah, that's it. Phew, good job, Judy. Now we can go back to blaming Kimberly for this whole thing. Carrie tries to argue that Kimberly was in front of her and that as she passed by, Kimberly pushed her. Similarly, she says that after being pushed, she wound up partially downed in something of a kneeling position, but not completely on her back, which is possible. It's possible. It's not, maybe not likely, but it's not impossible. Totino's put pizza in a roll. The improbable has happened. Judy moves things along and demands to know how. And all this pushing and kneeling nonsense, Kimberly's nose wound up broken.
When she had pushed me down, she had grabbed my hair. And in the process of when she grabbed my hair, I could not get her off of me. And so I started flailing my arms to have her let go.
I'm gonna need to see a very, very realistic reenactment. Could we get Kimberly over here again?
She's done this to me in the past, has hit me previously in front of her daughter.
Judy again squelches Carrie before she can go on, and while I think it's unfair that Carrie can only speak about a very limited time range and Kimberly can bring up anything that involves Carrie or any of her ancestors going back 6 generations, I don't actually think that any previous assault by Kimberly on Carrie would actually help Carrie's case. If she had previously hit you, why hadn't you filed police reports? Why hadn't you gone to the doctor? And why did you keep going back to her house to drink and talk about problems with your husband?
I've got my reasons.
Excusing the fact that Carrie might have been a bit tipsy because of the wine, Judy asks what made Carrie go inside and tell Kimberly's husband about what Kimberly had supposedly said in the garage.
I wanted him to know the type of person that she is.
Okay, it's ridiculous.
I think it's ridiculous too, but not because the situation didn't happen as I think Judy's implying. I think that Carrie wanted to cause a fight. She wanted to cause a scene. She felt she was made the butt of a joke by Kimberly, and she wanted to punish her neighbor for that. None of which is good, none of which is mature, and like I said, I too think it was ridiculous. She made you feel bad. If you wanted her to feel bad in return, you could have easily pointed out all the holes in her daughter's jeans. It's like she's wearing denim mesh. We come back from a break, and if you thought Kimberly's medical bills were about $3,800, you hit this one right on the nose. Ouch! Judy asked Kimberly's daughter, Tabitha, to speak, and I was way off. The kid is only 14. Maybe I was hoping she was in her early 20s rather than being a young teenager, just because that would have meant she wasn't forced to witness her mom's drunken brawls and then also dragged onto daytime TV to relive them. I guess it beat sitting on Zoom while your teacher tried to explain the significance of a separate piece. Are you more of a Gene or a Finny? Comment or email judgingjudypod@gmail.com to share all of your opinions of a separate piece.
I don't have any.
Right before I saw it, I heard arguing, and as soon as I came downstairs, I stood by the gate, and then I see Carrie and my mom. My mom's walking backwards, and Carrie's walking forwards. And then Carrie pushed my mom, and my mom almost fell, and then they started fighting.
This feels a little like a combination of Kimberly's story and of Carrie's story, a melange, a cocktail of sorts. Because now we've got Carrie pushing Kimberly and apparently fighting rather than one simple punch by Carrie. We've also got Kimberly walking backwards, perhaps lending credence to the idea that she was in front of Carrie when she allegedly pushed her, or perhaps suggesting she was doing the moonwalk.
My mom said to get out, and they were both flinging arms at each other.
Tabitha says she also thinks they were pulling each other's hair, perhaps explaining what Carrie experienced, though I'm still not convinced it wasn't an ill-advised haircut. After describing how her mom's hair was a mess, Tabitha says Carrie pushed Kimberly to the floor.
And then as Carrie is on top of my mom, she grabs the glass case around the candle and hits my mom against the head.
On top of the head, not on the nose. Interesting detail. Judy asks Tabitha about how long the argument happened before the fight started and where her dad was during the whole thing. To which Tabitha delivers this answer, and with just her first word manages to win the case, at least in my book.
And did you see where your father was?
Stepfather and no. Stepfather, stepfather, and no.
Tabitha only saw her stepfather after the fracas and believes he came out of the garage, though she can't recall. Judy thanks the kid again and has her sit down so that she can continue to hear about her mom's antics in relative comfort. Now it's Raul's turn.
Yeah, it's nuts. But I don't know what else to do.
When Judy asks Raul when he and Carrie got married, Carrie tries to coach him with an answer, earning a reprimand from the judge that's almost as long as Carrie and Raul's marriage.
This year.
I'm not talking to you. Do you understand, Miss Reyes?
Sorry, Your
I'm not
Honor.
talking to you. Say nothing.
Raul says he remembers the night of the incident and remembers agreeing to take Kimberly's proposed pee panel.
And did your wife agree to take a drug test?
I don't think she said anything.
And that's all we're going to hear from Raul. No questions about Kimberly's alleged sexual advances. No questions about whether he's a Gene or a Finny or frankly any of his opinions about John Knowles a separate piece.
That was an interesting story that you told me, Miss Reyes.
I've got a feeling that interesting isn't the same as believable. Judy's taking umbrage with the fact that Carrie's version of the story didn't include any of the drug testing talk, which Carrie tries to explain away by saying that she felt it wasn't relevant. It might not have been, but she probably could have mentioned it, even mention it not being relevant in her retelling. Not mentioning it, it leaves her version of events as empty as Kimberly's featureless soul.
Do you mean just out of nowhere? She says, how about taking a drug test? I mean, I've had gatherings at my house. We don't do that with regularity.
That's the difference between the rich and the rest of us. The rich know their friends are on drugs, and they don't care. Judy rules in favor of Kimberly for the full $5,000, which means she got her medical bills covered, plus her pain and her suffering. Enjoying enjoying the pod, consider supporting us by sending $1 or $2 our way at tiptopjar.com/judgingjudy. Or don't, whatever. I'm not your boss. And now it's time for everybody's favorite part of the show. It's time for me to judge Judy. I go by a very important set of rules, but it all comes down to this. Did Judy deliver justice? Whatever that means to me in the moment. Justice not just for the plaintiff, not just for the defendant, but for the TV audience, for you and for me. If she did, she's innocent, but if not, she's guilty. Now, I made no secret of the fact that I didn't care for Kimberly, for her nosiness, for her intruding on other people's lives, for thinking it's funny to scare workers with drug tests, but I also didn't like Carrie. I just found fewer occasions to say it. However, I will not let my personal feelings for either of those two cloud my judgment of Judy. This is called Judging Judy. It's not called Judging Kimberly, who's a jerk, or Judging Carrie, who's a little flaky. The judge heard out 3, almost 4 different versions of events. She didn't yell over anyone, though she did perhaps rein in Carrie where she did not similarly rein in Kimberly. But fundamentally, we got an entertaining case that was easy to understand and easy to judge. Kimberly did, in fact, probably deserve some money, though I think she may have been responsible for the injuries she incurred. I won't hold that against Judy, because all in all, I think she did a fine job with a strong episode today, and for those reasons, today, Judy's innocent. And with that noise, it's time for Hangman, but this is not the Hangman you played when you were a kid. When you really ought to have been killing 2 birds with 1 stone, no, this is Hangman with stakes. And this week, I'm putting TV/streaming commercials up on the gallows. Many of you bemoan commercials. Many of you do everything you can do to avoid commercials, but tell me, just tell me, geniuses, how would you know which car insurance companies pay J.K. Simmons without commercials? How would you know which beer has the ice-cold taste of the Rockies? And how would you know that even old people, really old people, can have wildly active sex lives without commercials? Without commercials, we would be nothing but dithering idiots with no idea what a double baconator is, how much it costs, or where to buy it. Thankfully, if I win Hangman today, TV commercials will still exist. But if I lose, they're gone, and you'll all finally get the hell on earth you've claimed you wanted all along. As always, I'm using hangmanwords.com, and this week I'm going to try out their sports words list. As a reminder, I can make 6 incorrect guesses, 6 letters that are not in the word until I lose. And finally, this is an audio medium. Deal with it. All right, so again, we're looking at the sports words list, and our answer is one word: 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 letters. 12 letters. 12 letters. Again, just in case you were wondering, there are 12 letters, and I can see this would be better if it were visual. Let's start off with an E. There is no E. So I have, my Hangman has a head, and I have 5 more incorrect guesses. And I still have 12 letters to guess. Let's go with S. There is one S. It is the first letter of the word. Let's get crazy and go with C, as in the 3rd letter. There's no C. So my Hangman has a torso, and I'm down to 4 incorrect guesses. Let's not go as crazy and go with an A. There is one A. S blank 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 A blank 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 blank. Let's say, we went crazy once and it wasn't a good idea. It was a bad idea. Let's kind of rein it in a little bit with an R. There's one R. S blank 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 AR blank 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 blank. I have no idea. It'd be pretty crazy if I did. Waste of your time, frankly. Let's try M, as in maybe there's an M in this word, but I don't know. That's why I'm gonna guess it. There's no M, so my Hangman here is halfway complete. I have 3 more incorrect guesses. Let's go with N, the letter after M, the letter that I had just guessed that put us in this whole predicament. There are 2 N's. SN blank 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 AR blank blank N blank. Snarn. If there were no blanks, it would be snarn. But I don't know how that has anything to do with sports. So I'm glad there are blanks here. Let's try K. I'm wondering if the N is, the end has an NK. No, it doesn't. That was stupid of me. Maybe it's ING instead. Oh, I think it's snowboarding. O-B-W-I-N-D. It, in fact, is snowboarding, which means that commercials live. You know, this actually reminds me of the fact that the Olympics are coming up. And what are the Olympics but a fantastic celebration of the beauty and the majesty of sponsorship. And what is sponsorship but not a bunch of commercials? And so I would like to honor on this, in honor of our word snowboarding, in honor of the coming Olympics, I just want to honor all of the Olympic sponsors, which is taking me a little longer than I expected to pull up. I'm just waiting for it to load. But I just really, in honor of commercials and in honor of the Olympics, I want to honor AB InBev. They make fantastic beer. Airbnb, they ruin communities. Alibaba, they have so much crap you can get. Alliance Insurance, they undoubtedly have a questionable history. Look it up. Coca-Cola, I really like their stuff, but it's kind of poison. Deloitte, their consultants, you know they're bad. Omega, it's a watch. I don't have anything bad to say about them. Procter & Gamble, bunch of crooks. Samsung, they treat their employees terribly. TCL, they treat them worse. Visa, it's a credit card company. They charge fees, the middleman. I lost steam on this one. But don't worry, commercials aren't losing steam. They're gonna stick around because today, on Judging Judy, I won Hangman. With our last moments together, I wanted to share an out-of-context quote from Judge Judy. It was like finding out that Mother Teresa was running a bawdy house. That's it. Like, share, subscribe, and fornicate. But whatever you do, don't offer to pee on command for your neighbor's satisfaction.